Hey guys, welcome back. Maris here, and today we have Timberborn and 40 tips and tricks or tutorial or guide, call whatever you want, for you. At the end of the video, you will know exactly what to do in this game, in and out, in every aspect. Speaking of aspects, I have split all those tips and tricks in 7 categories, 7 areas. So we will cover wood, water, food, management, building, dams, and expanding. All 7. Down in the description will be all of them listed, so you can just read and do not watch the video if you want to. And also timestamps. I will mark those 7 big categories so you see, so you can find what you want, particular topic. Let's not waste time. I will rush really fast. If you have any questions, just mark the number, which point you are interested in, or you need questions to ask, and let me down in comment section. So let's jump right to the game, and let's start with the first. There's wood. It also will be covered in the screen. You'll see the screen. So first step is good coverage and middle of warehouse. That's warehouse. So the thing is, log pile is the most precise, but what I'm trying to say is simple. Your lumberjack and also the one that picks the blueberries, they need to go to the gathering spot and then bringing back to your this flag, and then that resource needs to be transported to either log pile or warehouse. So you want to build it somewhere in the middle. This is bad example, but just I'm explaining. Hard to see because it's anyways. Here's the wood. If you build too close here, your builder or carrier needs to carry way too big distance to the log pile. If you build too close to log pile, it's really hard your lumberjack to get to the wood. So somewhere in the middle seems to be the best option, especially in the beginning where every logistics problem will bite you back. Next point, we have proper cutting area. This is something specific I have prepared. Of course, we are talking about cutting trees. This is especially the beginning. At late game, totally not usable, but at the beginning, where you rely on the trees naturally growing. As you can see, this is basically grid, which means you allow to cut a lot of trees, but you leave these for new sprouts, basically the seedlings, how it's called. Seedling, yes. As you can see, I have the grid, but the grid is then ended in 2 ways. I called it closed grid or open grid. So something like this. I leave it open, which means I allow those trees to keep growing and basically take more space. At the top, you see, this is the example. Closed grid means there is no way the trees will grow outside. So basically, this is a limited area and they will always stay the same. Keep in mind, when they naturally grow, they grow pretty slow. So that's slow, let's say, in a limited area. But if you keep the same trees in here, as you can see, you allow them to sprout out and enlarge the area, enlarge your natural log output, basically. So especially important at the beginning not to cut down every single tree, because you might end up without any log and basically doomed to fail if you absolutely clear every tree. This is important, that's why I took a little bit more time to explain this. Next stop, we have proper access. Proper access, especially at the beginning, is something like this. When you have more levels, more how to call it? These are not cliffs, but you get the idea. So of course you need a stairs, or basically stairs the only option how you can access that. But let me show you what happens if you have a lumberjack here and you miss, or you don't have such stair. This area is not accessible. This area is totally lost. As you can see, without proper access, and another note, you see there's no roads. So lumberjack basically expands the area by only having access. You don't need a road there. Only a stair will be enough to access lower or upper or lower level. All right, explaining again too much, but move on. We have free to relocate. This is not only related to woodcutter building, lumberjacks. Let me just remind you, here you have lumberjack flag. Absolute. This construction site is too far from builders. Oh yeah, they are built, sorry. I thought they are not building. But keep in mind, these buildings are for free. Then gatherer flag is for free. And also, not only these, but while we are on the topic, district centers, absolutely for free and automatically built. And also the same when you have it unlocked, you have this drop-off point. So be aware of the buildings that are for free. And if I remember, this log pile as well was for free. Costs no materials, that's what it means for free. For this particular faction, log pile is for free. So be aware of these buildings that you can absolutely, when there's not enough tree or there's a problem, just take it down and place it where the tree is. That's especially at the beginning really important to know. Next up, we have tree efficiencies. Let me think if I can show. Yeah, I can show you right here. All the information is here. Birch, when it's cut down, give you 1 log, but it grows 9 days. Then 2 logs, 12 days, and 8 logs in 24 days for maple tree. So calculation is simple and easy. You can see every next tree takes longer to grow, but gives way more logs per cutting down. Which is, yes, at the end you want to have every your cutting area to be a maple tree area. But in the beginning, and especially in hard mode, it is essential to remember whenever the tree is growing. Let me find some growing trees. When the tree is growing, this little one especially is excellent example. It lacks water. When there's a dry season and maple, this seedling is not having access, it will survive the dry season, but it's not growing meanwhile when the dry season is, which means the longer period you have the maple trees, for example, and you have hard mode when it's every 5-6 days you have a dry season, it prolongs the time and you will gather the tree way more than you might imagine. So the birch at the beginning is better because it's short, it's fast, and one dry season in the middle and boom, you have your log. So especially at the beginning when you start to grow trees, don't go right away with maple trees. Slowly get every single one of the types. My advice, I have also example, is go something like some little area and you will see how you get logs way faster from there, and then get your maple. Something like that would be my suggestion. All right, too long explanation, but it was important. Next is already water. Yes. This is the check the depth and water levels, especially at the beginning when you have the pump. That's one of the essential buildings at the beginning. Let me try to find where I have my... Yes, this is excellent example. These pumps are not the same for both factions. I'm not gonna spoil, you will unlock and see, but it's actually written when you open up and see the water pump, it goes maximum depth two stories. So you can see at the back I have these blocks which basically indicate 2 stories, and that's it. Be aware when you build it, it's not advisable basically. How let me show you. Let me try to demonstrate exactly what I mean by that. If, for example, you had... I can't build it. Let me find... Okay, this will be better example. So, you see, there's one level. If you build a water pump here, it is limited. You need to have a water in this one particular, more or less, but here you need the water. Why? Because when it's lower than this, your pump can't reach it. If it overflows, it covers the entrance, the building is not accessible. Again, you cannot pump your water. But if you build a pump like this, you have 2 blocks. The variation, the water level can rise, can drop, and it's good for you. And in both of these ranges, water pump works. This is so check where and when you build those pumps, and what levels the water is going up and down. Of course, you will influence that, but the main idea is for this point here. Next up, for water, we have build backups in different levels. It's hard for me to show because I have pretty good coverage, but the idea is simple. I use the same spot. When you have, let's say, the wet season, you build a pump here and it's all fine. When dry season kicks in and let's say the river just gets lower and lower, but there is some area where it's still water, don't be afraid to build pump here, which means, and of course all the access and everything, what means when there's dry season and water level drops down, the top building will be without water reach. It's fine, you will pause it, but at the bottom the building can operate and provide you with the water. For example, this is example, and when the water level rises, this building will be beneath the water, not accessible, but you will have back a building that we just unpaused, and you basically whatever level you have, especially at the beginning when you don't influence it, you will always have a water. That's this backup level, different levels of pumps essential. And last but not least, for the water point is as stupid as I was at the beginning as well, thinking that, well, these big water tanks will be enough. No, there's no way, especially in the hard difficulty. The game quite fast shows you that no, the game is not meant for you to store water in the tanks. It's meant for a beaver approach to store water in way bigger approaches. So keep that in mind. There's no escape for that. How and why? These dry seasons become longer and longer, and you will not be sustainably able to store the water. For drinking, yes, no problem. Reminder, the water, when you store it like this, it provides you farmland and land for the cutting trees. In dry season, if all the water you have is stored here, you're doomed. No logs, all the trees die, no food, everyone dies. Yes, so, okay, too much. Fast forward, we have food. For food, we have point number 9, yeah, dry food can be collected. I'm not quite sure I will be able to find the dry food in this map, but you know what it means. When water level escapes, I think actually I can manage. No, I will not flood. All my food is fine, but no, it's not. Yes, perfect. So this is potato. This currently is dead, but when it loses the water, basically when the dry season kicks in and it shows, you can click on it and it will show how long time you have to collect it, which is absolutely essential, especially at the beginning, which means you don't need to collect all the food right away when it's ripe, basically like this. One potato waiting. You can absolutely place your workforces elsewhere, and when dry season kicks in, for example, in the last few days when the dry season is coming, you want all your water stored so you can put your workers in the water pumps. When dry season is here already and these cultures are dying out, or blueberries, you can pause the water pump and then instead just in the dry season collect your food. That's how it goes. Next up, we have food proportion. This is point number 10. We have perfect garden. Long story short, no, this will be long story long. I'll be quick as I can. Carrots, one tile grows, you can read it right here in the tooltips. One tile gives you 3 carrots, you eat them, simple as that. 1, 3, and it grows 4 days. That's also important. Then we have potatoes. One tile gives you 1 potato, but that potato, when it's grilled, comes 4 food basically. That's the important part. And when you switch to wheat, it grow from 1 tile. It grows you 3 wheats. Every one of them you need to mill into flour, 1:1 ratio, and then when you bake them, every one of those 3 flours becomes a 5 bread. So 3 times 5 is 15. Huge exponential food outcome. But of course there are different days to grow. That is another important factor. So we have food outcome is 3, 4, and 15 per 1 tile. Keeping in mind how long it takes for food to grow, it becomes to 0.75 food per day for carrots, 0.67 for potato, and 1.5 for bread or wheat. Don't mind in the middle, of course, you need resources and research and everything to build, but the outcome, the main outcome. Then to cover your all beavers and how to have every single one of the foods and the results in the same levels, you need 2 carrots against 2 potato fields against 1 wheat farm, 1 wheat tile. That's the outcome. Then when they are grown in their speed, outcome will be same level. It is important. Why? Because if you click on your beaver and you check all 3 of those foods provide you nutrition, you can of course get only 1 food, 1 type of food, but there is benefit to have all 3 of them. All 3 provided will be the best for your beavers. That's for food. Quickly moving forward, there's another point is remember I just mentioned there's a different speeds of the food growing time. Food growing speeds basically. This is important, especially in hard difficulty. Remember I mentioned there's every 6 days there's kicking in the dry season. If we look at the wheat and if we plant wheat right away, it grows 10 days. So absolutely there's no way you can grow the wheat if in 6 or 7 or even 8 days dry season kicks in and your field will die out or it stopped growing. Then when it's not ripe yet, you can't harvest it and it will dry out. That's the point. You need a stable water during the dry season. Only then you can start imagining about collecting potato and collecting wheat. So even despite the fact I just explained how much bread you can make from the 1 field, whatever, you need to stable water. And stable water is again not in a tank, but something that holds huge amount of water. When there's dry season, the water level will drop, but still around the field will always be green and not lose that fertility. Okay, you get the point. It's important. Next up is conversion rates. I already actually mentioned them just moments ago, but quick reminder: 1:3, 1:4, and 1:15 is the ratio for every food. And again, quickly show you, farm can be built right at the beginning, and grill can be built right at the beginning. So basically both of those foods, the carrots and potatoes, if you have stable water, are accessible for you right away. Why ratio? Why I mentioned conversion rates? You know, the food. Yes, this is important part. How to explain? When you collect a carrot and bring it to your lovely storehouse, small storehouse, especially at the beginning, it holds capacity 200. When you bring the carrots in there, or even better, you don't have a warehouse, you have only a farmhouse, it can hold 50 for every single type of things they are growing. So 50 carrots, that's it, that's limit, which means beavers are coming in, eating all the 50 carrots, that's quite fast, done, you're out, you have no storage. But when you hold 50 potatoes means when you grill them, they are turned into what? 200. 4 times more. So that's where the ratio kicks in. When it's not fully prepared food, so flour or just potatoes that still needs to be grilled or baked, this conversion rate 1 to 4 really shows that 1 potato outcome is 4. But carrots is just already ready for eating, but takes way more space. If you get the idea. That's where the conversion rates for what it's called, not traveling, but yeah, when you're expanding your base, will get to that point. This is really important for that. So these conversion rates and how they translate from 1 to, yeah, you get the point. I need to speed up a little bit. What I found is the best work for farms when you have at least 2 farms is mixing priorities. If you click on the farmhouse, you'll see there's a planting and harvesting. Let me quickly explain why I have selected. I advise you to select one in one priority, another one. The reason is simple. By default, it stays in harvesting, which makes sense. When there's dry season coming, you want to collect all your food. Yes. But the problem is, when they harvest, at the beginning they plant everything, then they wait for a long period of time, and then they harvest everything. When everything is harvested, they plant again everything, which makes it really, let's say, the huge spikes. When they harvest, it's full. You will have problems with warehouses. There problem with gathering speed. You will have a lot of problems, especially when it's okay. At the beginning, it's fine, small, one farm field, but later in the game, you don't want these spikes. You want a steady flow of food because your beavers need to eat. And then, if one of the farms are focusing on the harvesting, then other farm, whenever there's a free field, will plant that field, which means as soon as it's gathered, there is another new field set. And remember, the growing is the longest period of gathering the food. Planting and harvesting is fast. So whenever you plant and basically even out the flow, it means there's no huge spikes for warehouses, no huge spikes for transporting food, no huge in-betweens the harvest season. So yeah, explained. Good. Then we move to manage points. There's a pause a lot. And there's 2 types of pause. One is when you pause with spacebar, that, if you pay attention to the corner, is pausing the game itself, especially at the beginning when you need to do a lot of things. But another pausing, which is important, especially in the beginning, is with P on a keyboard. Whenever you press a P, it pauses the building. So at the beginning, when you have limited beavers, you can pause your unpause your builder's hut and pause your, howling post. And it immediately switches the beavers. If you have limited workforce, then on pausing, you see there should be immediate switch. When you need another focused water or food, or you get the point. pausing, because that's how you distribute your beavers workforces. For example, now, as you can see, oh yeah, I have spare, but you get the idea. That's for management. Next, we have spare. Oh, white moved. Damn it. Let me see if I can fix it. No, I can't. Damn it. Was it before as well? Oh yeah, the manage. No. Sorry. Let me open up a little bit. Okay, fine. Should be fine. Is it fine? Yes, manage. Separate warehouses. This is something absolutely the game manages really badly. Is whenever your warehouse is full, there's nowhere to put it. And my advice, simple as that, separate, especially at the beginning when you have one warehouse and you need your food to store for dry season. If it's being filled with, I don't know, planks or some other garbage materials, oh boy, you will be so in problem. So yeah, all my warehouses, as far as I can tell, is full with something, everything. Basically, they store everything. There is no way to limit. For example, you see, I have set everything to 20. They go way past. They do not pay attention to these numbers. As you can see, explosives is just full. There's everything else but the things I want. So separating warehouses means you can do unselect everything. So once it's built and empty, deselect everything and then allow only carrots. Then you will be sure, it doesn't matter the number is there, there will be 200 space for carrots. And that's the only safe way to allow that. Whenever you enable anything else, or for example, you want both types of food and you select 100 and 100, sounds good, doesn't work. They go beyond the 100, and if you produce bread more, at one point you will have 199 bread and there's no room for carrots. So game's warehousing system is so bad that only allowing one item in a warehouse and then building more such warehouses is the only option where you can be sure it will be spaced and stored and everything. Right, next on we have transportation and strength. This is the point where, especially in the start, you have lumberjack flag and you have gatherer's flag and you have builders, not builder's hut, you have district, but it works the same way. You see there's this check mark that says transport goods between warehouses when idle, which is absolutely the best, which means the worker works, for example, lumberjack, until everything is fine. There's food in the area, when there's everything, when it's full, basically 20 of 20, then he becomes a transporter, and the lumberjack itself picks up the wood, the logs, and transport it to the warehouse. Normally, if it's not full, they do not do this, which is absolutely awesome. And you might think then it's covered. Wait a second. So there's transportation when it kicks in. And don't get me wrong, don't spend your resources right away building hauling post, because these guys, and this is where you need to pay attention to the strength, is they have double the strength that normal beaver. And if you don't know, then strength is the number you can click. For example, this is a casual dude, works in a lumberjack flag. It can carry 2 logs because 1 log is quite heavy. It weighs 6 kilograms. But if that log would be transported by my hauling post guys, they can carry 23, because 10 kilos by default, double that 20, and then because they have nutrition bonus that gives +3 strength, they will be 23, which means they can carry 3 logs, almost 4 actually, almost the double, but you get the idea. So transportation, yes, it is covered partially by your posts and builders, but if you have spare workers and resources, hauling posts are incredibly well needed, let's say. So that's basically for your base management. Okay, I'll unpause, let them run, and next point we have few unemployed. Simple as that. If you pay attention, if I click somewhere, you see I have unemployed 47. This is especially preparing for big projects, but you always want few spare unemployed beavers. By the way, yeah, if you click on the building and this is different district, it showcases the numbers about this district. And this district, I have 0 unemployed beavers, which is not great. And if I try to get some other district where I have some working, yeah, 8 unemployed. And here we have 19, okay, a little bit much. Why? Reason is simple, especially at the beginning when you don't have a lot of bonuses and everything. Bonuses are those little stars fulfilled. Life expectancy is shorter and your beaver dies, even from the age, which means they have everything, but they will die naturally. Which means whenever there's beaver, for example, in this camp, if this beaver that is worker in the grill, which makes food for everyone, if he dies and if I don't have unemployed beaver, which immediately takes the place, there's probably some children that grows up, and if after some while he can become this grill master. Meanwhile, everyone will be already dead. So having some spare unemployed beavers is absolutely needed, always. Next point, we have housing and birth rate. This depends on the faction. This faction, for example, their birth rate is something, you don't care what it is, but it works like this. If you have empty housing, some empty houses available, they will reproduce and fill them up. So basically, if you don't have any spare housing space, you will never get new beavers. So you need extra. And this works in both ways. As you can see, I have paused buildings. If I unpause them, which means 3 plus 3, this is potential plus 6 new children beavers, which will grow up and will be adults, but it works in the same way. You limit them or you allow them to reproduce. This particular faction. Other faction uses different type. They grow them in pods, so the more pods you have, the more new beavers coming in. But they will also need, the other faction, they will need beavers to live in the houses. Why? Because living in house, sleeping in house gives comfort, which is 25% life expectancy increase. That's huge. So try to get houses for all your beavers. Next up, we have prioritize. This is something I started doing way too long, deep in the game. When you have a lot of things going on in your base, and there's a problem coming in, for example, it might happen even when you have kind of everything in balance. For example, I have a little bit potato problem. You can click on, I believe, any building, and you see there's a marker prioritize building by haulers, which means whenever there will be a little one potato here, it will be picked and delivered, which is what I want. And especially at the beginning, one of the most used buildings for priorities, as I have said as well, is water tanks. Because when there's no water, that's one of the fastest way how your beavers die. And next one is food, so yeah, you don't want that. So prioritize what is important, and yeah, don't prioritize what is not important, simple as that. Next up, we have bonuses. I quickly already touched, but let me remind you once more. It is faction specific, which means check out other faction beavers. They have a little bit different setup. I'm not going to spoil more, but when you mouse over, you can easily see what gives what. For example, this is, yeah, they live in capital. Obviously, it's awesome. Life expectancy plus 40. Hell yeah. But there are some of them are, let's say, more important, and some of them are harder to get. For example, this AVE 3 level, third level is super hard. End game items needed, huge statue needed, really hard. So don't go for it right away. But there are some easier things at the beginning. For example, the same comfort, giving house, or nutrition, life expectancy plus 30%. Give them carrots. First nutrition comes from carrots, and give them comfort, and you have 55% life expectancy increased from the beginning. At the hell yeah, that's what you want. And for this particular faction, yes, social life is where the fertility is way increased. So if you don't have social life granted for them, expect your babies to grow slower. Well, get babies in slower rate, or yeah, you get the point. Moving on, we have well-being is pointless. This is something I came up, and game developers will hate me for that, but well-being is in the corner. When you open up, basically it summarizes, that's the same thing we just saw. While you click on a beaver and you, for example, can check that fertility rate increases by 50% from social life, so you can build few social life buildings, which improves and is awesome. That means something. But this number at the top, for example, 8 is my average. As you can see, I can improve it. That number can be 8, can be 1, can be 5,000. Let's go 9,000. It doesn't change anything. There is one set that unlocks the Iron Teeth next faction when you reach this number just once. Just for a moment, click it and you will have the next faction. Otherwise, this number impacts absolutely nothing. You should know that. Now let's... this video will be too long. Building. For building, we have districts, district centers and reach. Simple as that. I need to fasten it up. District center is everything that is around buildings. When you click on it, you will see these lines on the road, which means only where the line is drawn, for example, you see here. This is empty space. If you build any building there, they will not work because they are not connected to this district. District ends right here. This is important because, as you can imagine then, the further the building is from your district, the harder, basically, the more problems it will have. Especially keep in mind that the same district starts, for example, here, then huge distance to the middle, and then the same size on other end, which is absolutely you need to take in account, because your beavers will run around for food, for home, for sleep, for fun, for temple, for what else was there? Social life, you get the idea. The more they are running, the less they are working. So, quick summary. This is example. Every marker is 10 tiles. From the entrance of your district center, it is 70 tiles, which is the length. Whenever you make a turn or something, you can make in a spiral, it will be way less. In total, it is always 70 tiles. And as you can see, this area is the builders can build and access outside of this. The entrance must be here, but the building itself and your builders will build something if you place it, for example, here. So entrance is and building, that's why this is under building tips. The reach and district, yeah, now you get it better. Next up is building stacking and limits. We need to move over here. I have full-length video as well, but I built these damn towers. What I just explained, this is a center tower, which is built right next to big access stairs upwards. This every tile also counts as one of these tiles that maximum is 70. And as you can see, I have built up almost to the maximum. This is that 25 level story building. And my guys cannot reach it because the construction is too far from builders. Which is just clear example. If you think about building huge skyscrapers and everything, yes, as you can see, I can't even finish the building. So even if I stack up, as you can see, sounds awesome, right? I have huge living quarters. Last 3 buildings are not connected to the district. Remember the same thing I mentioned? You see the line ends somewhere here, and last 3 buildings are just not working. They're pointless. Last 3 are absolute. That's just quick guide for you for stacking up buildings. In previews, in screenshots and developer blogs, they had these awesome creations and everything. In reality, they are way worse than you can imagine. Because remember, the same length these beavers need to run. I can actually... I know, there's no beavers, everyone is dead already. It takes a long time for them to run from top to the bottom, which is absolutely pointless. So stacking few buildings is fine. As you can see, limits are way lower than you would expect. Build on water, this is quick idea. Okay, I'll leave it running fast so it's morning better seen. Yeah, I have it still here. So it is simple. When you have limited space and you have a lot of water, because I advise to have a lot of water, you will run out of space to build. And actually you don't run out of the space, because if you build these huge platforms, you can rise up the level. There's still water stored in there, but you can absolutely easily build on top of the water, which is what I'm advising. This will save you a lot of space for farming. This is my base. As you can see, there's trees and farms and everything. And here, if you are wondering, beneath, let me pause the time. There's a huge water. It's stored in this huge, not a tank, but something like that. And on top of all my water reservoir that is there, I have basically part of my whole city. Okay, moving on, we have build from top to access. And access, this is something you need to understand how the buildings are built. And buildings are built from, for example, I'll show you. If you put a building here, your beaver can run here and build from the bottom, but the same can happen and they build from top. If it has adjacent tile, it can be 25 or more stories, it doesn't matter. If you put something at the bottom, they can access from the top. If the top is accessible, they can run and build everything. It just needs to be, yeah. Why I'm talking? These guys are just proving how it's happened. So that you can exploit quite good. If you just have access from the top, you get the idea. Build a wall and extend it, and they will drop them and keep going. You get the idea. And another thing to mention is the access. If you build, this is important. If you build, for example, walls like this to cover the reservoir or something. If your guys will build this block first and this block first, this will be inaccessible. They can't access it. So you will have to spend extra time to build an access and a lot of trouble. That's where accessibility of your buildings, not buildings, but structures are important. If you're wondering how to bypass it, well, you get the idea. It's quite simple. When you build such things, first thing that you build is corners. Whenever the corner is built, like actually built, finalized, then as you can see, these rest of the reservoir walls can be accessed from any other angle without any problems, and you will have it built without any issues. If you leave it like that, you get the point. You're not that dumb. Next up is mixing power generator. This is simple. Every faction has different types of making power. Mind-wise, mix them. As you can see, I have water wheel and I have also wind power, and they are connected. Why? Because when there's dry season, water runs out, water wheel stops. Meanwhile, this windmill can still be running and generating power. And opposite, when wind stops, you get the idea, you mix them so they are complementary and you don't run out and absolutely stop your whole operation. Next up is remember the path. This is the issue I had way too... Oh, I hate it. In demo, it was not a problem. In demo, it was you build, for example, this wall, and it is absolutely... They immediately walk on it like there is a road, which is not in the final version. I will demonstrate especially where it's the problematic. For example, if I extend this reservoir and they cannot access the third or fourth level, obviously, but you already know they will build from top. And here's the problem. Let me see. If you can see, it's not reachable. They don't reach because this area around, remember these stupid lines and this area around, this is where the builders work. So if you have a far away such building, these 70 tiles, then you need extra on top of your buildings, make these roads. So whenever they build this one tile, immediately will be road on top of it, which extends the building area and extends, and basically then they will build everything of it. But if you forget to build this one stupid little road, it's not connected, and somewhere here the area will stop, and these last of them will not be built. And exactly the same issue is whenever you build something like, oh right, I need a housing, you know that it's needs an access, and you build it and done. And after a while you watch and there's no housing. Why? Because it's not connected. This one tile does not provide a road yet. You need to place this road here, and only then it will be. It's such a nightmare. So pay attention that always you build this extra road. It costs nothing. Roads in final game, in this version, immediately are built. But oh boy, it's a problem if you forget to place it. Next up, we have building. Remember the stacking problem? I will add it on top of it. When you build a stacking buildings, these are all the stacking buildings for this particular faction. All other buildings, absolutely every one of them, basically, when you add on top of them, that's it. They are covering the roof. You can't add any more, which is a little problematic, which means you have really limited amount of buildings that can be used as a base, and on top there will be always some kind of building that cuts the building possibilities. But this is where the kicker is. There is a way. And yeah, one more thing. If you're thinking that maybe you can use your platforms to build on farms, no. On buildings, no. Basically, there's so limited amount in height that is, yeah, the game kind of feels like you have huge building potential, but basically when it comes down, as you can see, you can't cross anything. But there's not workaround, but the only things that can be built over the buildings, which are not meant to be stacked up, is the bridges. I hate them. Bridges are worst because the entrance and the exit is this. They take this particular spot. Let me demonstrate it while I'm building. So you see, they have one axis from one side and exactly the same from opposite. There is no way to jump on board, for example, from the side. I really hate them. But at least you know you can build them over a building. Otherwise, there is no way how to cross it. You can't place platform. It goes around, as you can see. All right. Then we have metal platforms. They are bad. Simple as that. I built few of them. I hate them. I already hate them. First of all, the visibility. Second of all, especially for this faction, they take one space and they provide kinda 9, which sounds good, but you cannot extend it or build any more, so there's no cheating around that. Then you have everything covered, and the worst part is I especially paused the rest of them. I built those 5 platforms, which from the area perspective is like nothing. Every single one of them costs 200 metal blocks, not scraps, blocks, which means these 5 metal platforms cost me 1000 this metal block. And if we check, metal block is made from 2 scraps. They make 1 block. So 2000 metal scraps to get this area. If that's not the worst deal ever, I don't know what is. Oh, I forgot to mention. No, I didn't, because everything was planned. Iron, this metal scrap, is limited resource. And from one such pile, approximately 2,000-3,000 scraps come out. So basically, what you just saw there, those 5 platforms, is one such pile wasted right there. And every map has some few limited these iron. Oh, I think, collected almost all of them. I have these 2 left, which makes it super bad deal. Yeah, I have collected this one too. I just the worst. These are the worst. Wait a second. Yeah, bridges over building are also bad. I explained why as well. Platforms are bad, and then for dams, last 2 parts we have dam, which is the core of this game and why it's amazing. First, you need to understand those 3 things: volume, how it works, what it is, how water is a volume, the flow. So you take that volume and move around. That comes in your mind, and then basically cover the physics itself. Why? Because otherwise you will not be able to build a good dam. For example, let me show you this one tile. I don't want to base. How I can show you? This whole reservoir contains a volume of water. That volume of water, when I open my floodgates, for example, I can open in 3 full heights. Now a volume of water are flowing in this reservoir, which then is filled by some precise speed, because the volume that comes in, then it collects here, and then it's so to manage all your water reservoirs so there's no overflooding, because it's bad. Then when you flood your city, you are kind of doomed. You need to have calculations. Of course, there's a good way that you can still play and test how much is how much, and understand how much you need, or close totally. But still, all the reservoir and all that is basically some physics basics. Why? Also why? Because at the bottom of this huge, you have these, in this map, 5 rocks that generate water in specific volume. I don't know how much per minute, per second. When there's dry season, they don't generate water, but they make some amount, and that is amount you have to work with to fill your reservoirs, to feed your farms, trees, everything, tanks, beavers. And then when dry season, that amount you still process and drink, then you need the volume for your reserves. So it sounds, I'm not trying to scare you with physics and stuff. It's quite basic, and you can manage it quite easily. For example, these water fields I have here, they are evened out, the volumes, these floodgates matched, so it's always water everywhere and nothing is flooding over. Well, at least in theory it should be like that. All right, next up we have 4 dam types. I'm saying dam because it sounds better, but let me quickly show you 4 types of dams. Why it is important? Because actually I had an idea to build them, but it's irrelevant for this teaching, learning purposes. At the beginning you have limited resources. Let me show you. At the beginning you have dam itself. Well, not dam, let's start with the worst. This from one side, levee, or however it's called, it takes, this is perfect spot to show because it takes 8 blocks, and basically this is it. This is the first dam type and the worst of them. Why? Because it's absolutely blocking the water flow, which means if we need to imagine here that a river is flowing here, if you build such dam, it will get full, which is good idea to get the reservoir full, but afterwards it will overflood, and then the water will spread elsewhere, will flood your farms, and everything. Basically disaster. This is limited addition and asks for disaster, and will be disaster in some time if not properly managed. Properly, it means you must change it. Second is this dam, which is actually called dam, way better option, because it covers the half of the block, half of the one square, and other half is empty, which means the water will fill up until the middle, and then it starts flowing over without overflooding my living area, and basically river continues. Someone would already jump and say, then this is the best dam. Wrong. Again, we have 4 types. Better version, especially at the beginning, is something I would advise to build like this. You build full blockage dams, levees, then you build up 2 dams, and you see if it still overfloods, then delete one of them and replace with this one. There are many reasons why this is basically already working, and I'd say not perfect, but very good dam. This is what you want. Reasons are many. Let me name a few of them. First off, this levee costs 12 logs, where dam costs 20. So what I have built here is way logs saving than this. This is really expensive, especially at the beginning when you have limited amount and time and everything. You will not finish the dam, you will just already die without water and everything. So this is way faster to build because of the less materials used. Second off, this is where the physics kick in. And it works amazingly in this game. When the water comes up to the level of mid of the block, and remember we have 5 these rocks that generate water. If they generate more water than the flow can pass through those 2 blocks, that means these blocks are not allowing to pass the water like these does. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 8, 8 of them. They are 8, right. All of them will allow water to go through. So whenever it immediately reaches the half of the block, they will pass through, which means the reservoir behind it will always be one full block divided in half, because only half is what you store. So from whole reservoir volume, you get only half and never more. Why? Because everything that floods over is already gone. In this case, 5 water rocks generate water. It piles up. When it reaches the overflowing point, it flows over, but only through 2 narrow gaps, which means more water is coming in the reservoir than going out, and the water level will rise up. The more it rises up, the more it opens the how to explain? I hope you get it. When you have full level reach and all the water is coming with full speed, then both of these blocks, when the water level is at the edge, is half of the block, so basically one whole block is the volume that goes through, which might be actually the right amount of these 5 rocks generating water volume. So at the end result, what you get is the reservoir will be always full at the edge, which is way more water than in this reservoir. And if you don't think why it's important, is after here, when the reservoir is stored, water is stored in the reservoir, there is a green land, and the more you water store, the bigger this range is. This is why it's important to have it. Why no one builds nothing? Oh, right, I have a lot of stupid things to build. Okay, so then the last is quite simple. Every other dam I have built in the game, which consists of, the only difference is you have 2 blocks, or, well, the idea is similar as the third dam, but the difference is this is something that you can actually change. So you don't need to destroy or build. Let me show you the built up version. Where is the most beautiful dam? Where is it? Let's say this. So you see, I have every one of them blocked, but here I can control how much it takes. And yes, you have to build these ridiculous things around. First off, this floodgate does not allow your beavers to go through. So if I build it right here, as you can see, the path will be interrupted. So no way. You need to build it next to it. Once you do that, you need to have these. Otherwise, well, maybe you don't actually need those. Because, yeah, this weird looking, as far as I can tell, is just a graphical glitch. It's not water leaking. That's why I built in both sides. Well, it looks ugly, right? It gives you a feeling like it's dropping out, but actually it's not. Now I realized it's not. Hey, I said close it. So yeah, that's why I built it both sides, but my guess is you can skip it. Next up, we have understanding water levels. Yes, this is the part where you have a dams and you need to understand how what works. So idea is quite simple. I'll try to explain. There's one source where the water is coming from, these water generating rocks. What it means, you need to level these floodgates to amount so your reservoir is full but not overflooding. Oh shit. How to do that? Give an input of water, and at the end the logic is quite simple. You have full block. What you do, you open at least half of it. So whenever there's potential like overflooding, it will reach the last part and start dropping off the excessive water. And similarly, as you can see, I have water storage here and here, but they are different levels. So obviously this is the filled up first, and whenever it reaches the point, only then the water comes in this reservoir. So I'm explaining a little bit maybe too dumb, but these levels, and when you have the floodgates, working with them, you can equal out. And why it's important again? This will be an excellent example where I fail, because I opened the floodgate a little bit too much water is coming in here and then here. So you see, water is essential to have a farm, but just a little bit too much, and these three buildings are absolutely paralyzed. So you need, and as I explained previously, what you want is water level at the edge of it. Because let me demonstrate. Of course, we are spending so much time, let me demonstrate it. Pay attention to the fields. What happens if I lose only half or a little bit more of this water level? You see? Just because the level went down, I still have water. And the lower it goes, the more fields I lose. So this is essential for me to have this level at the maximum, which will not happen now because, yeah, the main point here is to understand these water levels and equal it out and get your farms working. Okay, you get the point. I need to fast forward it. Yeah, floodgate 2 minuses I already mentioned, but jump ahead. One of them is you cannot go through them, so you need to have a road next to them, which is absolutely why I hate them. And the second one actually is not correct anymore, and I will make it one. The second one was to have this levee right next to it, because as I said, it just looks like it's dripping, or it's actually dripping. No, it just looks, it just games graphics that makes the water not as a pile, but yeah. And as you can see, managing this water level is fine, but we need to stop here, otherwise overflooding is already happening. Okay, that's the previous point. And yeah, floodgates, they're absolutely the worst because you can't go through them. Next up, we have 3 water reservoirs. This hopefully will be quick. Oh, damn it, I flooded it. There's nothing I can show you. Let me fix it quickly. Just for the video, of course. 3 types of water reservoirs. Every map has different types. And the best you can have, I hope it will flow away, is natural. Natural such dips, lakes, call as you want, which means if you manage to get water at any time or any way over here, it will fill up this particular spot, which will stay quite some time. Especially during the dry season, this is important because you need to store water in big amounts. So this is the first one, quite simple to understand. Second one is whenever there's a water flowing and you block 1, 2, 3, how many other spots you want, but basically remember how I explained, half of the block height will be a reservoir here. So of course, this is not ideal. If you can flood up to the edge, better option, of course, would be something like this, as I explained why in previous points. So that means you have one whole block. If the water, you can rise the water level here, there's no flooding anywhere else. Then this inside will be the stored water, one full block, half of the block, even more, and only then it overfloods. So this is the second type, which is a little bit more problematic to manage, levels, not over flooding and everything, but it requires little resources to build. Yes, this is perfect. Yes, this is what I wanted to show you. Naturally, you just need to get water stream here, and this is how you store the water. So that was the first one. Second one is something like this, and the third one is the worst in some sense. It's something what you're looking here. There was no natural gulf, no natural lake, nothing. Basically on the plain ground you build up every single side of the building, which is the last part. Don't try to build it at the beginning. It's really costly, log costly, time consuming. Go first, especially in the order from the first natural where you can store it, then build some blockades, and only the third, when it's absolutely necessary, then build some crazy stupid things like I did here. Yes, it contains inside whole size water. My water wall. Anyways, you get the idea about your possibilities and reservoirs. Next is access is the key. Okay, this is about expanding. Last area I'm covering. Oh, this video is too long. Expanding happens through the district centers. You build a new district, then you have new coverage. You can build up, then move forward. Like have done here, as you can see, I have my main base. Then here is a district. Here is a district. And here is a district. So after a while, because you remember we have a limited amount how districts far work, so you have to build quite a lot. So how to better do it and how it happens is the access is the most important part. Why? Because remember I already showed you that this district center can be built absolutely anywhere, and it's immediately you can send your beavers to come over here and live here, right? Wrong, because access. If you don't have access, in most cases you don't have, you see there's no stairs, nothing. Which means first and most importantly, you need to have access to be able to send your guys over here. Which then leads to the point how and why you have to first build stairs down here. Then I build stairs here. Then I needed to have stairs here. And then I could place more stairs and build a district center. Once I have these stairs here, at the beginning the district center actually was built here. I build it. This is basically for this particular point especially. Then I get my beavers over here. They expanded the radius access. They from this center build up these stairs, because my original center, if you remember, this one has no access that far. There's no way I could build right there because there was no access. But what I did, I built right here. And then when I have an access, I can destroy this district center and build it here. Because the only thing that limits you how far you can build your district center is the access. For example, this huge pile, if you don't have stairs up there, there's no way you can build and use that district center. So having access is the most important part, which includes building bridges, building dams, building platforms, building stairs. Most importantly, stairs, because beavers otherwise cannot travel. All right, next for expanding, we have three buildings, three key buildings you need to expand your base. You can go with one, of course. The most important is to have a district, but three, second and third building is essential, and they are under labor, and we are talking about distribution post. You need to unlock it with science and build it, and the same goes for drop-off point. When you have, and of course, distribution center is something that you build in your base, where you have resources, beavers, logs, everything. This basically is for providing resources to the new district, because here everything starts from scratch. You don't have anything else here until your distribution post provides it to this drop-off point. So these are the three parts. Once you have district center, then you need to connect it with roads drop-off point, and then to that drop-off point you order your distribution post to, let me show you, deliver what I deliver. Let's deliver bread. Food is one. Second is water. And the third is logs, because we don't have anything here. So these three materials provided in this one point, without any warehouse, without anything else, is everything basically you need. Because this district center gives you 4 builders by default. Of course, they don't have nowhere to live, but when your, not howlers, but these distribution center guys will bring food, water here, it means these beavers have everything they need to survive, and then logs to build. And that's the reason why I'm explaining it so much. Is sometimes in the beginning I had this mistake. I built a district center and start building and something and try to grow a new district, cutting the woods and everything and logs myself. It's so time consuming. These 3 buildings, once they are unlocked and you have resources on your main base, pop those 3 buildings, order a road to deliver food, water and logs there, and done. Throw in a log, planks. Planks are needed for stairs and everything, and you are covered. For quite some good time you are covered. So yeah, adding limits, this is really essential. I'll show you. When you order those 3 roads, I ordered already here, clicking on distribution limits shows you this picture, which is absolutely the worst picture ever. If you pay attention to question mark and read what it means, is you allow them to import 100 berries, and that's the limit. When they bring in 100 berries, they will stop. Of course, we don't have that roid set. We have 3 roids set only, and we needed the 4th one for planks. So basically what you want is planks, yes, coming in 100, water coming in 100, logs coming in 100, and bread coming in 100. So where's the problem? The problem is there's capacity limit only 300. Whenever one of the resources are brought in here too much, for example, if some crazy dude set the bread for 300, your guy's distribution office can actually fill it with 300 bread, and then you don't have water and everyone dies here. So what you need to do is all calculate what resources are you bringing in, and my advice, how I do it, is set food and water for 50, which means I have 100 more to operate, and then 100 for planks and 100 for logs. Where's log? It's fine. So they keep bringing all the items, but they will, when they are filling up, they don't interact with each other, and there always will be all 4 of these materials. That is everything you need to build a new farm base, pumps, growing logs, everything can be built from these 4 resources right here. So yeah, if you add those limits, and yeah, they are already bringing everything in. Cool. Next one is mind the distance. Also made this mistake a little bit. Remember, when you have the access, what I just explained, you have built the roads and everything, I can place right away here, because yeah, I have access. Ooh, it's over flooding. Bad. I can place a district there and start building base here. You know where the problem is? I'm not minding the distance. Remember those 4 items, base items I need here, they will be carried by those 8 beavers, which have also carry limit. Yes, they have 100% increased strength, which is awesome, which means they carry logs by 3 logs at a time. And I ordered 100 logs to be delivered there. So you can imagine if they need to travel all this distance from here to here. Yeah. While they're carrying the log portion, food will run out here and every other beaver at that end will be dead already. So mining distance means you build these posts in between. I call them, basically this is literally called middle district. I don't need anything here, but what it does is resources are being provided here, this drop-off point, and here I have another distribution office, basically just passing along here because this is where I needed things. And guess what? This provides then carries further right here where I can build some stupid towers. So find this distance. If it's too far and your beavers are dying out, mostly it's because, yeah, the food cannot be provided in reasonable times. Then we have gate trickery. Yeah, if you're wondering, the districts cannot be linked with roads directly. Let me find an example. Yeah, not there, but here. I have a district center here, and I have a district center here. The road between requires to have a district gate, which now limits. This district ends here, and this district also leads to this point. This is the joint point. So what's the trickery? So you see, okay, all the wood is already... anyways, you have all the resources, for example, here, and there's a new district without any resources. What's the trickery? The trickery is you can always build the things on the fly. They cost nothing. So what I do is you just move a little bit further the district gate. As you can see, it's still absolutely fine for this district, what it's called, area. Next up, what you do is whatever resource you need, for example, okay, too close, but that you get it. You already see what I'm doing. You build up a log pile, then whatever thing is dropped in this drop-off point, of course, if it's excess materials, they will be brought on here because I have spare haulers or whatever, and the food probably will be also brought here, so they will fill up these 2 things. Well, you can order them if you have wood cutting or something going on in this region. So when it's full with logs, what you do, you simply switch back. And it's, as you can see, it requires, if you're fast enough, absolutely no time. And now this potentially full log pile belongs to this district. And then you can order your beavers to come in and build whatever you want over here, a new dam, whatever. So this is the trickery when moving a little bit gates can absolutely... And why it's important, because remember, distribution office has 8 guys, 8 beavers. They need to sleep, they need to eat, they need all those things. And while working, they will carry items. This way, absolutely everyone who has spare logs will come in and drop off the logs way faster than 8 guys carrying items that need to be stored. So yeah, that's the trickery. And then we have a part where potatoes floor are better. This is again for expanding. And this is the reason where the ratio kicks in. Remember the ratio about the food? For example, I have my district here, and I could easily send baked potatoes or bread over here, which is cool, or carrots. But the problem is, every one of those items, one item is one food, is eaten, I believe, three food is eaten by every beaver in hard difficulty. Which means my distribution office will be bringing a lot of food and it will be eaten immediately. But remember the food ratio? If and as I'm ordering to bring here potatoes, one potato right here with this one building can be turned into 4 food. So you see, my distribution officers carry, let's say, 10 potatoes, and right on the spot, with a little bit log as well, they are turned into 40 food. And that opens up way more carrying capacity, my distribution officers, to bring logs and other materials I actually need. So this is where expanding these districts, none of these districts I have built, none of them are the food is brought already ready food. Every one of them has this grill that bakes and makes potatoes on the spot, because that's the way how you can manage this logistics. So yeah, that's the way. And the last point, we have already 40 points, but of course there's always just a bonus for you guys. Yes, it should be under the bonus section. These are 3 parts, 3 controller advices I can give you. Alt and scrolling. What it does, let me demo. I already showed you, but when you press and hold Alt button on the keyboard and then scroll, I'll pause it. Otherwise, the game is just too heavy. It levels the buildings down, which is way easier to determine where you have the water, or where you have the leak, or where you need to build something or update. So this comes in handy, especially when you start building some crazy stuff. Alt plus scrolling. Then next one is, as you can see, I also moved around, which moves around with keyboard quite slowly, but if you press the shift along, it moves faster. This is awesome little thing that lately games implement, that shifting speeds up the movement. Absolutely, yes, needed. And the last one is right mouse button. I will sound like a dumb, which probably I am, but I played, I guess, some 20-25 hours in the game. I knew that I can rotate, but I then realized I can tilt the camera, which I was like, why didn't I try it earlier? Because the normal angle 45 degrees, which is always for the games, works perfect. But sometimes when you build the buildings and you forget to place something in there, then rotating and tilting the camera can be absolutely needed. So yeah, these 3 things that you can click and move absolutely help a lot. I hope that helps you as well. And everyone hates me for such a long videos, but if you manage to look it all through, first off, you have some stamina, you have some strength. I absolutely adore that. You deserve a medal. And second thing, you know everything. I mean everything about this game. Of course, little small things, details, maybe surprises for other faction, how it works a bit different, and new buildings I saved so you can experience for yourself. But the basics and how to manage everything, hell yeah. And if you are not convinced that you are ready, there is another video of mine which is called Gameplay on Steroids. Yes, I call it like that, where I'm going through the hard difficulty and showing step by step how fastly applying all what you saw here, you can withstand any cycle. So that's everything you need to know. Thanks for watching. We will meet in next videos. Cheers and goodbye.